You don't have to stop dancing for me. Welcome to Hobby Think Tank, episode 699. I'm Danny, and that is Dancing Mike. He's got a little cord. You just pull him in the back, and he'll shimmy.
You made the mistake of taking me off camera, and then my StreamYard didn't bring me back in time.
No, it was perfect. Welcome to the episode with the map. We're talking about maps.
Are we basing our titles off of Friends episodes now? I'm not a fan.
You know, I'm not a huge fan of Friends.
The first season was great when it was Joey and Chandler focused, and they were single. It was a blast.
I had a Matthew Perry moment today. I miss Matthew Perry.
He was very funny.
He was, especially the early years.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, before
the bromance.
Yeah,
was great. I couldn't. After that, it was unwatchable.
No more titles from Friends episodes.
Thanks.
But you and I started a discussion off camera, so we decided, as always, let's just hit record and keep going. Cities, markets, teams that affect prices of cards or popular cards or influence the hobby. We don't have real strict parameters other than we're looking at the geography and we're looking at impact. Summing it up?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. So to catch the audience up on where we were, Mike called East Coast bias, which is legit and real, by the way. And my question was, is it the entire East Coast or is it really the Northeast? And Mike, do you want to pick it up from there?
Well, I think that if you're playing for Boston, am I with you still? Oh, I thought I was frozen. You were frozen. If you're playing for Boston, you're playing for New York, you're going to have decent card values. There's a decent floor of your card values if you're a star, even if your team is terrible. Whereas if you are a star in Minnesota or Kansas City, your floor is going to be much lower, unless, of course, you're a rookie. Like Bobby Witt is a prospect. He's not a prospect anymore.
But New York prospects still get overvalued versus other cities.
Right. That's my point. The floor is much higher for a New York player or a Boston player, an LA player.
Well, how about Philly?
Philly, sure. Yes.
Okay. LA.
Well, the Dodgers right now, yes. And you off camera, I'm just going to share this. Danny was arguing that the Angels can't maintain a star. What the value of their players, or what was it again?
I felt that their popularity, they couldn't take advantage of popularity and add any value to Trout or Shohei. The Trout or Shohei had their own value baked in and got no bump from being in LA.
Right. And my argument is that had nothing to do with the city. It has everything to do with the management of that club. The Anaheim Angels have been mismanaged for decades, since what, 2003, 2005, something like that. They had the two biggest stars in baseball and still couldn't get to the playoffs because they didn't put anybody else around them. In basketball, you can have the two biggest stars, see Luka and Kyrie, and make the finals with very little around them. They have some decent players, but very little around them.
You're a Red Sox fan.
I am.
Okay, it's not picking on you. A little bit of a tough year. Tristan Casas comes back. Plays well.
Yeah.
He's going to get the Boston bump no matter what the record is.
I don't think so. Not this year, because it's too late. Last year, Tristan Casas had a massive second half of the season.
When's he coming back?
He later this summer, if he comes back.
Oh,
He
okay.
struggled the first half of the season last year, and in July he lit it up. And the second half of the season, he was spectacular. But because he had struggled in the first half, baseball card fans, baseball card collectors
Yep.
have very short memories. And if you're not amazing at the beginning of the year, your value is toast through the end of the year.
If you
I was buying Casas cards unbelievably cheap during his insane hot run in the second half of the year when his OPS was well over 1,000, maybe even 1,100 in the second half of the year, and he was jacking home runs like crazy. It's like the hobby forgot him.
But don't you think whenever he plays well again, he's gonna shoot up the elevator faster than a guy on Milwaukee would in a similar situation?
Yes, because there are more Boston collectors than Milwaukee collectors.
Okay. So let's take another Mets, our New York team. So are we saying the second class team in every city loses the geographic advantage? White
They
Sox
don't
to the Cubs?
they don't lose the geographic advantage. They
I,
abdicate it. They give it up by not putting a good team around whoever stars they have.
well, they're the second team to arrive in the city in every situation, which is interesting.
But don't you think the Mets could, if the Mets were really, really good and the Yankees were bad or mediocre, don't you think the Mets could have not the fandom of the Yankees, but for a season, a really good season or a dynasty,
Yeah.
couldn't the Mets have a big, uh, burgeoning fan base that grows and grows and is very excited? Think about the 80s.
Well, even Dorn Piazza, I'll concede
Yeah,
that,
yeah, the Subway
but
Series.
the hobby doesn't give them the love.
Right. Who are the biggest Mets that the in the hobby? Still Strawberry and Gooden,
Oh, all time, Nolan Ryan,
of course. But
Tom Seaver.
yeah, yeah, David
But
Price to some extent.
you have to go back a very long time to get to anybody.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think the second team loses some of the geographic advantage.
Yeah, I think that's fair, but they still have some. They still have a higher floor than Minnesota.
Do certain organizations have like a built-in, the Cowboys a built-in bump, or the Lakers a built-in bump?
Yes. They also are more likely, just by that bias, not East Coast bias, but the media bias of winning more awards because they're on national TV more. For instance, if you think about the Celtics were on national TV 40 some odd games this year, whereas the Atlanta Hawks, I don't know how many they were on, but it was much lower, and they're on the East Coast too.
Or take a team that did well, Thunder certainly were not
Right.
on 47.
More, yeah. If you put the same player on two different teams, if you could clone the same player, the one in the bigger market would be more likely to win a big award. They'd of course be more likely to win the championship, and their card values would be higher.
Can you be totally unbiased? Is SGA really that far from guys in the MVP? You know,
Well, he
um,
finished second in the MVP or third.
right? But primetime games, hobby value. Do you think he's equal?
Hobby value. So for anybody who's watching and doesn't know, SGA is Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
Thank you. I don't
Plays
pronounce
for
things. I can't.
plays for the Thunder in the NBA. Um, hobby value. The problem for SGA is that he's older than people realize. He's like 26. I think he was a rookie the same year as Tatum. And people want him to be younger because he became a star later.
Well, basketball skills, is he equal to Tatum right now?
Yeah, he's maybe better.
Okay, hobby love and NBA love, it's not even close. I think Tatum over him.
Yes, Tatum has a much, much better resume because of the team he's played on.
But
Been to
is
the
that
finals 5 out of 7 years. Oh, sorry, the Eastern Conference Finals. 5 out of the 7 years. The finals at least twice in the last 3 years.
so, so you don't think there's any Boston baked into Tatum prices?
There is.
Okay.
Yeah,
If
there's a combination of things that are baked into Tatum values.
so if SGA wins a championship, he still doesn't catch Tatum.
Well, Tatum's going to win a championship this year, so
There goes unbiased. Uh, let's say SGA. Let's say Shea wins 3 championships and an MVP.
his values would be higher than Tatum's.
Not if Tatum stayed at the level he's. If Tatum stayed at this type of level.
If Tatum isn't winning championships and SGA wins 3, SGA surpasses him in hobby value.
Okay.
You
So
disagree?
I think there's a delta somewhere between being a really small market like OKC versus a Boston than the performance on the court. Like that delta is not even.
Yeah, sure. So if Tatum won 2 championships and SGA won 3,
Right. It's
I
not
could
even
see them
close.
being
Yeah.
somewhat equal. Maybe Tatum is still higher.
I would say he would be still higher.
But if they were 3 and 3, Tatum would be way
Ah,
higher.
oh yeah. I mean, not even close. So what other cities have and teams have impacts?
In baseball,
Any sport. There's so few of them. I think the Cowboys and the Lakers, we agree on those.
yeah, but Dallas for the Cowboys, yes, but not Dallas for the Mavericks.
Interesting. So so sometimes it's forget geography. Is it the cachet of the team? Like you said. Is that the LA difference? Is it the cachet?
Yeah, I think you'll see if Luca continues deep playoff runs for years and years, which he certainly can. I have Luca as the second best player in the NBA right now in the world. Uh, if he continues deep playoff runs year after year, then they can certainly catch them. But the Cowboys haven't been good in 30 years.
But and they're still like one of the top sellers of merchandise.
It's crazy. And the team is worth $8 billion or something like that.
I think that's Jerry Jones's plastic surgery budget.
And it's his fault that they've been bad all these years, too.
It literally and figuratively is.
And he's also the reason that they're worth $8 or $9 billion.
Yes. Yes.
It's similar to Mark Cuban, strangely, the same city. Cuban arrogantly refused to have a GM for so long, although they did win a title in 2011.
And they're pretty good right now.
They're okay. They're going to lose their next series.
We're calling this the unbiased episode. Do not get your news from Hobby Think Tank. If you want the real news. No, this is interesting because I think
By the way, this is going to look really bad when people watch this like 3 weeks late and the Celtics have lost.
Oh, I know that. It's so great that Baltimore doesn't have a team in the NHL or the NBA. I really think it's interesting if you're, I guess it's a prospecting or a Hall of Fame collecting question if you're choosing between players.
Right. So this is a great point too. You're far less likely to make the Hall of Fame if you play for a bad team in a bad city. Tampa Bay, how many Hall of Famers do they have?
Well, yeah. How many years have they been around?
Okay. Minnesota has been around longer.
Yep. And almost nobody.
Puckett,
Jim Cott. Did he make the Hall of Fame?
Blyleven.
Yeah.
Jim Cott did, yeah.
Yeah. 16 gold gloves.
That's okay. Maddox had 15.
I think he might have tied him actually, or broken it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so you're less likely to make the Hall of Fame if you play in a bad city, even if that bad city has a good team.
okay. So like the Utah Jazz, 2 Hall of Famers ever.
hmm The most playoff games without a title by far, 177 playoff games without a title. The second highest pair is like 108. Tatum and Brown, by the way, are fourth right now with 104.
But who's counting?
Somebody is. I read it this morning. So yeah, Stockton and Malone, but they were in the playoffs every year.
And there are okay. So I mean, to me, the takeaway, if we're think tanking this, and if we're looking at this from a think tank perspective, is if you collect Hall of Famers, get in early on the big teams in the big cities
Yeah.
for hobby love, not
Yeah. And then, yeah, I would still wait for them to be in the Hall of Fame.
I think let's say they lifted the ban on steroid guys, and all of a sudden all the steroid guys are in. I think San Francisco is a market that would overcompensate and support its players.
Well, Barry Bonds, I think, is very, very popular in San Francisco.
He is,
He
but
rides his bike with regular people every day, or at least he used to.
well, it's good of him to be with the regular people. For
I
the record,
know.
Barry Bonds is a regular person.
No, he's not.
Yeah, just with a little bit more juice.
Yeah, I can
I
see
think San
San
Francisco is
Francisco.
one of those cities.
Yeah, I agree.
But to your point, the team has to be good. But when it is, I mean, shit, they turned Buster Posey into a Hall of Famer, and he's not.
You just swore on Hobby Think Tank.
Did I? Oh, I did.
You're gonna be fired now.
Well, I'd like to pull that right back. And we don't edit either, so it's there. But I don't think Buster Posey is a Hall of Famer.
I do.
But you think Joe Mauer's a Hall of Famer, so therefore Buster Posey has to be.
Yeah, I think both of them are. Posey won 3 World Series.
Do you think Minnesota hurts Mauer?
Yeah, I do. I think Mauer would have been better. Would have been a. I don't know, to be honest with you. This
If
is a
he
really,
if he
really good
was if he
question.
was a Yankee, if Mauer was a Yankee or a Philly or a Red
He would have
Sox.
been more famous. He would have had more national TV games,
Yep.
but he already made the Hall of Fame. Was it on his first ballot? I don't remember now. It was, right?
Yes, but let's say it's Harold Baines made the Hall of Fame. It doesn't mean everybody agrees.
Right. The worst Hall of Famer still got in.
That's such a terrible title. That is he's such a nice guy. He is the worst Hall of Famer in. Actually, that's not true. If you go back in the day, if you know
Post-war.
baseball history, yes,
Post-war.
post-war.
Whenever I talk about that, I'm always talking about post-war because pre-war, there's just
A
so much
tremendous
stuff going
amount
on.
No, but Harold Baines, where did he play? And are we being unfair to Harold Baines because he played in Chicago, Baltimore, White Sox? Let me rephrase that.
Right. Man, these are good questions, Danny. I don't think we're being unfair to him.
This
Wow.
isn't Hobby Sleep Tank.
Man,
I know it's your bedtime, but
Hobby Stink Tank.
yeah.
I think I don't think we're being unfair to Harold Baines. He was very good for
Is
a long time.
is Jim Rice overrated for being in Boston?
Jim Rice is definitely overrated for being in Boston.
Okay.
Yes. He was a feared hitter for like 3 years.
Would you compare Jim Rice to Harold Baines?
No. Rice was greater for a short period of time. Baines was gooder for a long period of time. I just made up a word.
It's all right. We're an educational program.
Yes.
Um,
Baines was more consistently good. Rice was great for a short period.
this is fascinating. What if Jose Fernandez had lived?
That's I hate
Is Miami one of those cities that has the potential for the right player? I
no,
mean, they almost did it with Stanton.
no, they can't keep them.
I know, but if the
There's
ownership could get together,
no, there's no way Miami never would have kept Jose Fernandez.
because the Heat, huge success
Yep.
when they've had talent. They've been on national TV. They've gotten big free agents.
Yep.
The Dolphins, despite what I believe, are going to be competitive in the AFC.
Despite what we want.
Right, despite what we want. Let's say the Marlins got good ownership. Could Miami be, listen, South Beach, there's a whole vibe down there, there's a whole thing.
I don't think so.
You don't think if Ronald Acuna was on Miami, he wouldn't be the coolest freaking player in the league?
They still wouldn't draw 20,000 fans a night.
Well, it's probably a separate issue, but maybe it's all one and the same. So there's no Miami baseball bump, but there is a Miami football bump theoretically.
I don't think so. I don't think there's a Miami football bump.
I don't know. Do you think Dan Marino is properly rated all time?
I think so.
Okay.
Don't you?
I think 1984 was a fantastic season. I think if you take that season off his resume, he looks like a whole different player.
Kind of like taking Game 7 of the 91 World Series off Jack Morris's resume.
Yeah, I know you can't do it.
I know. I can't help myself.
I know. Well, Jack Morris.
Minnesota guy. And, of course, Detroit, Toronto. But best known
he got
for
a lot of national TV. To your point.
Playoff games.
His biggest moments.
One moment. Game 7 of 91.
He won several World Series, so.
Yes, but he didn't pitch in the 93 World Series for Toronto because he wasn't good.
I love getting you worked up on Morris.
Let's move on.
Just pull the string. No, but
84 Tigers. He was not their best pitcher.
That was Guillermo Hernandez.
Guillermo Hernandez, Willie Hernandez, and he wasn't that good. Sorry, we shouldn't have started this.
No, it's a fair conversation. Would he have made the Hall of Fame if he pitched in a big city quicker? Would he have been more of a less controversial figure?
Take away Game 7 of 91, he's not in the World Series.
He's not in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, sorry. He's not in the Hall of Fame. Take that, and that was, I'm not trying to take that moment away from him. It was amazing. I remember watching it live myself. It was unbelievable. It was one of those moments that you never forget. Literally, it's been 33 years.
Do you remember when he walked out for the 10th inning?
I do.
And you're like, pitchers don't do this.
Yeah. It was amazing. And he had a big mouthful of chew the whole time. They kept showing him close up during his pitching, and I was like, ugh.
And he kept the backup chew right behind it in the same jaw. I think he is, to your point, it's a national TV was his moment.
Yeah. And it's tough when you are Shohei Ohtani in LA, either LA, to get a lot of national TV love because MLB doesn't do a lot of afternoon games. And when you're in LA, the playoffs start at 8 p.m. at the earliest on the East Coast.
But the even game of the week, even when Shohei was with the Angels, they got far less national games of the week than other cities
Right.
and other teams.
Mhm.
And that to me is unbelievable. With Trout and Otani on the roster, they
Yeah,
couldn't
because
get they couldn't get national love.
they're 70 and 92.
But but I so there skews the love for the hobby. How much did Otani's prices go up when he went to the Dodgers?
Pretty significant until the gambling
Until yeah.
scandal broke.
Yeah, forgetting the betting.
It was pretty significant. There was certainly a bump. It may not have
And
been
you knew he wasn't pitching this year.
right.
And you don't know if he's going to be the same pitcher. And it's still got a bump.
Or if he'll be the same hitter as he was.
Excellent point. So to me, there's a huge baked in Dodger cake there.
Yep, good point.
Um,
And nobody likes the Dodgers.
well, except several million LA fans. Where would Mike Trout have to go to change his prices? Or are they done? Are they baked in? Are they finished?
No, if Mike Trout went to any contender whatsoever, his values would skyrocket. I'm looking at PSA 9 2011 Topps Traded, just the base card. It was going for about $450 when he got
Okay.
off to a hot start. It was up $50 or so. When he got off to a hot start, went up to about $450, and now they're ending just over $300. That's almost a buy for me. We're almost there where I'm ready to buy a PSA 9 Trout rookie. And then I think to myself, do I wait until after he retires? Or I really don't know. But he was the hottest hitter in baseball when he got injured. I think he was leading the majors in home runs,
He got off to a very fast start.
and his values went up. If he were to go to a contender, the Yankees, even if he went to the Red Sox, and the Red Sox are not a contender, I still think they would go up.
Well, that was I think that's the point of what we're talking about. And I'll give you a city we have not talked about, and just to be fair, St. Louis has a strong fandom that I think there's some dollars baked into Cardinals.
The losers of the 2004 World Series.
To some team out of the Northeast. I don't know.
Just gonna ignore me. Look at you, Mr. Don't be biased while wearing a Orioles hat.
With the Orioles tickets and the Baltimore-born Babe Ruth and the 54 team set.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, whatever happens, I'm unbiased. All right, let's land this plane here. I think this is actually fascinating. It makes me want to go city by city and judge them, and I don't want to do that on to people's feelings because we're talking about hobby love. But I don't want to miss a city that I think adds value. I think St. Louis, I wanted to mention. I'm going to say this several Pittsburgh fans buy Pittsburgh players at a very, very strong clip. There's not a lot to buy. But look at
It's a
the
proud
Paul
fan
Skeens
base.
market.
They're buying up Doug Drayback cards like crazy.
No, but they're still buying Barry Bonds. They're still buying Bobby Bonilla, probably. See? There you go. You don't even need to be from Pittsburgh. You just made my point. I think Pittsburgh is a sleeper, strong city.
Yep.
They
Kind of
get
like
national
Green
TV.
Bay of the NFL.
Green Bay is a great one. Yeah, why the heck does anybody like Green Bay?
I've been to Wisconsin quite a few times. Eau Claire, Wisconsin. It's amazing. I love Eau Claire.
Are your in-laws from there?
No.
Okay. You were saying it's so nice. It sounded like you were kissing up.
Nope.
Okay. So Eau Claire, Wisconsin's a nice place.
Yep.
But that's not where the Packers play.
But if you Google things to do in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, Google just laughs at you.
Applebee's.
No. I know we're now over, and I'm trying to think of this burger place, Milwaukee Burger. Man, so I eat whenever I go there. I must have 8,000 calories. I'm pretty sure Elvis died the next day after a trip to Milwaukee Burger. It's so good.
By the way, we're recording at night, and I think that some of us might be hungry. All right. This ended up being fascinating. I would like to continue this off air with you at some other time. I think it's some cool stuff.
Yeah, let us know. Throw comments in where we
there's
got this
an audience.
from.
Right. Like, follow.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. Do we have an outro? We don't.
Nope.
We just say goodbye.
Yeah.
All right. You want to say goodbye?
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.